Take my hand. She got me rocking and a rolling, rocking and a wheeling, Barbara Ann, Barbara
Man,
Ann.
when I worked at the fucking...
Went to a dance, looking for romance. Saw Barbara Ann and I thought I'd take a chance on Barbara Ann. Fuck yeah.
It just makes me think of
It's the
Surf
Beach
Ninjas.
Boys, right? Who the fuck sings that shit?
I don't know. Probably. Sounds like Beach Boysy.
But yeah, any of you seen Surf Ninjas?
I don't know
Nope.
what that is.
Yeah, Barbara Ann played a big part in it. It was a terrible, probably, kids movie from the early 90s that I rented all the time and adored, as did my sister.
There were so many ninja movies.
There were. And these
ninjas.
these brothers were... There's like these two brothers and, not Rob Lowe.
Oh, yeah.
The annoying guy.
What's he been in?
Rob Schneider.
Oh, Rob Schneider.
These
Whoa.
two brothers, and Rob Schneider was their friend. And the brothers are like surfer dudes, and Rob Schneider is their surfer dude buddy. Well, he's kind of like a wannabe surfer. I don't think he actually surfs. Anywho, yeah, they find out they're actually like heirs to this forgotten island kingdom, and they have to fight off an army led by a cyborg samurai, Liam Neeson. Not Liam Neeson, Leslie Nielsen.
Ooh, that's very different.
And no matter how I put it, that sounds like lies, but it's a real movie. Leslie Nielsen featured... I'm pretty sure he was a cyborg. I feel like they always had weird mechanical sounds when he moved, and he occasionally had, like, weird twitches.
No, that's Police Academy, Jake.
Yeah,
Somehow it
he
has
does have a
a
name.
5 out of 10 on IMDb instead of, like, 0.
5 out of awesome.
Oh, God. Not only did he wear samurai armor, he was Colonel Chi. So,
Wow, was it
yeah.
horribly racist?
Jake.
I'm sure... Toad Luke!
Hello, and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, a Star Trek podcast. This is episode 34.
Woo!
Yeah, in which we'll be talking about Plato's Stepchildren and wink of an eye. That's a callback to last week where I made a wink noise.
Yes.
Well, my name is Jake, and I'm joined today by...
Chris?
Ames.
And Caitlin.
Look at that. Isn't that wonderful?
I can't tell what personality this is.
So, we are going to be talking about two classic episodes.
Are they?
Plato's Stepchildren. Now, this one is notable for being a television first. Mm-hmm. The first interracial sex scene.
It wasn't. What? Wait, what?
I mean, kiss.
It wasn't, though. There were ones before.
It was the first primetime interracial kiss.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Well, wasn't it also the first, woman of African American descent with a white dude? Because, hadn't there been...
I thought there were, there were lists online of others. I haven't checked which ones were which.
Lucy and Ricky kissed all the time.
Well, right, he wasn't black.
Yeah,
no.
we're talking specifically black.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though. I think it might be the first black and
I
white,
think it's specifically the first interracial scripted one that's actually like a show.
Oh yeah.
Versus
I don't know. I'm sure there was
other kind of a
weird
thing.
exploitation.
It's just a lot of people do just say without any caveats it's the first interracial kiss, and that's just not.
Yeah,
not
there
true.
are caveats, but still,
Yeah.
It was groundbreaking at the time.
True.
Highly controversial.
Yep.
You get it, Uhura.
And even this has some caveats because it is under duress. They are actually forced by aliens to kiss. So before we get there, though, we should talk about what the episode's actually about real quick. The Enterprise arrives at this planet. I don't remember why they arrived there, but they did.
Distress call.
It's a distress call. So they beam down. Kirk, Spock, McCoy, the three amigos, leave Scotty in charge. They beam down. They meet Alexander. Nice little fella. Has kind of a Brooklyn accent thing, I felt like.
Yeah.
Turns out, though, despite the fact that he's clearly with the Brooklyn accent, he's actually a descendant of some people that lived in Greece or something.
Something. A little unclear.
They're disciples. They're disciples of the teachings of Plato. They're called the Platonians. They're shitheads. They have crazy, weird telekinetic abilities and can move shit and force people to do things with their minds
And mouths.
and other parts.
Ooh.
The reason they lured the Enterprise there, at least in part, was because their leader, Parsimony, was injured and was dying and had like a bad infection, so they needed some medical attention, which they don't usually need.
Yeah, those dingbats don't have doctors.
Because they're like thousands of years old. But apparently if you get a tiny cut on your body...
Because those motherfuckers never heard a fucking antiseptic, apparently.
Yeah.
Even though they've got that scroll of all the medical advice from
that's
Greece.
from Hippocrates or something.
Yeah.
Didn't they say, though, that it's because they had no, like, immune system?
Maybe.
Yeah, there's some other immunity having kind of
Whatever.
imploded.
They suck.
Not
Yeah, they're
They
assholes.
do suck.
So they act like shitheads. They play some weird, stupid chess game. They do all this showy stuff, make stuff fly. They make Kirk and Spock do a little dancey poo.
They're really mean to Alexander.
They're mean to Alexander. They treat him like shit. He doesn't have powers, by the way. Only Parsnip does. And
all the other...
Yeah, I mean, all the normal size ones. But
Parsnip.
Parsnip's the leader. And let's see what else happens. So then they're like, oh... You know, it's cool. We're going to let you go, but we want to keep the dock because, you know, if somebody stubs a toe or something, you know, can never be too careful. Of course, they're like, fuck no. And they're like, well, tough shit. You're staying anyway. And then they make Kirk and Spock do all this crazy shit.
For like 10 minutes.
For a really long time.
It was a really
long scene of them doing weird shit. So they go back, they kind of think of a plan. They're like, okay, well, what's different about Alexander from them? Why do they have powers and Alexander doesn't? And then they analyze the blood, compare the blood, figure out that there's some chemical in the food that Alexander's blood isn't susceptible to or something.
Well, because it specifically reacts with the pituitary gland, and this pituitary gland doesn't work quite right.
Yeah, so it's really quite stupid. Eventually, the Platonians, they beam down Chapel and Uhura.
The women!
And make them change into crazy Greek-looking outfits, and then they put on a little play, and the play involves forcing Kirk and Uhura to make out, and then forcing Spock and Chapel to make out, and then they're going to make Spock burn Chapel with a poker, and they make Kirk whip Uhura. It's fairly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Super. Finally, Alexander can't take it anymore, so he goes and he pulls a knife and he goes up to Parmesan and he's like, I'm gonna stab you, and he says, no, fuck no, you're gonna go fuck yourself, you're gonna stab yourself. And then right then, oh yeah, I forgot to mention that McCoy made like a serum that should have given Kirk and Spock powers.
Magic serum that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, he just made it out of stuff he had in his bag.
He probably got it from the food. He
crammed a grape into it.
It just showed him like taking out his medical kit and like doing a thing. And here you go.
Because Kirk was fingering some grapes right beforehand.
I was just thinking about. So so that happens, and right at the right time, Kirk's powers kick in, and he's able to take to
call upon Captain Planet.
Yeah, he gets the power. He stops Parsley from killing Alexander, and then they have a fight with Alexander as the prop weapon in the middle between them. It's kind of weird.
Really also uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then Polonius realizes the error of his ways and is like, all right, you know what, Kirk? Fine. We'll be good. We promise. And then they leave. And they take Alexander with them. And all is well.
And we never see him again.
All right. So sorry that was so shitty, but that was a shitty episode. So we'll move right on to Wink of an Eye. Oh boy. So, in this episode, we are lured to a planet by a distress call. Wait, hold on. Am I reading the right card here? Lured to if they get hurt, they die. What the shit? Okay, something ain't right here. So no, we're lured to another planet. It's another distress signal thing. They get there, they beam down. In fact, I think we're already even there at the start of the episode, but they're on this planet. There's no shit. There's no people. They're like, who sent this distress call? There's nobody here. It's all horseshit.
Sweet city, though.
Yeah.
Sweet city.
There's like some buzzing, there's some bees, there's an insect infestation, some horseshit. All right, fuck it. Oh, crap. Red shirt, number 4, just vanished for no reason. Compton. They're straight out of Compton's now.
I was just trying to think of a straight out of Compton joke, so I'm really glad. We're really the same person.
Yeah, more like fresh out of Compton's. Okay, so they beam back to the ship. They're like, okay, well, that was a bust. We lost Compton for no reason, but whatever. All in a day's work. But then on the ship, shit starts going haywire. The life support system starts acting up. What's going on? There's some mysterious new hardware in the life support room that we didn't see before. That's bizarre.
And we can't force fields in the hallways.
And we can't touch this. Force fields. So clearly some alien has beamed up with us and is fucking up the ship. Kirk's like, well, you know what? I could go for a warm cup of joe from the yeoman who brings the joe to the office. And he drinks a cup of coffee. And then he gets a little bit high. May have been a little bit of the green in that coffee, if you know what I mean.
Spock's blood?
Yeah.
Ooh.
More or less. So he's sitting around and things are getting slow and he's kind of having a good old time. And then he sees a woman.
Where are you going to go with that?
That was him struggling with what adjective to choose, and he ultimately just decided not to bother.
Well, I can't say hot.
Nah.
I thought she was pretty enough.
Scantily clad
woman. He sees a colorfully clad woman on the
also
bridge.
Yep.
And a lot of her side.
And he's like, who are you on my bridge? And everybody else is like frozen and she's walking around. So he's like, who are you on my bridge? And she's like, I'm the enemy, bitch.
And then shoves her tongue down.
And then she's like, let's do it right here, right now. Don't worry, they can't see us.
Bend me over the bridge ramp.
And this gives Kirk a boner for some reason.
For some reason.
You're right.
As she explains, they are people who live they live life in the fast lane, basically. Is what
and
he says.
furious.
They are the fast and furious.
Yikes.
They live much faster than humans, but every now and again they like to abduct some humans to bring them in, do a little finger blasting, little fisting, little butt fisting. All of the above. So Kirk's like, well, you can't do this shit. I don't want to be a part of this.
You can't fist my people.
He tries to shoot her with a phaser, but she's too fast for that because she's fast.
She's faster than a phaser.
Yep.
Wow.
And then
physics are
but she has a
spinning
weapon.
in their grave.
She has a weapon that does work. At any rate, we find out that that's actually where Compton went. He got abducted by them and was banging one of them.
Fucking loves it.
He's got Stockholm syndrome.
He's gonna fuck Kirk up. Then he gets fucked up. He dies of old age for some reason.
At the age of 28.
Because his cells get damaged, and that is death for these fast people.
So, I mean, there's...
Well, no, just people they abduct into fastness.
No, well, whatever.
So, I mean, there's kind of a neat mechanic in the episode I kind of liked where, you have the fast world and the slow world, and we switch between them. And it wasn't really played very well, but it's kind of cool to think about.
Mm-hmm. We keep seeing Scotty.
Yeah, Scotty
slowly like some kind of stop motion film.
Kirk eventually figures out a way to give the plan to... Basically, what the plan is, as I said, is they need some humans to breed with.
All the men are sterile.
Yeah, exactly. So they need humans to breed with.
That's interesting.
And they are going to... Well, you seen those clothes they're wearing? Maybe they're not sterile. The women just won't do it with them.
Oh, dude, seriously, like grandmothers at a wedding. Really,
grandmothers at the beach.
So they're going to use Kirk. The plan was to use Kirk and Compton basically to do some banging, and then cryo freeze the rest of the Enterprise crew so that they could use them as sort of like a warehouse for dicks.
Why don't they just take their sperms?
Shut up. Because where's the fun in that?
Oh, really? It's true. It's not as fun.
Kirk finds a way to reveal the plan to the people living in regular time by recording a message and leaving it for McCoy.
Vlog, we call them.
Yeah, he does a vlog. He leaves it for McCoy to discover.
And subscribe.
And then Spock by this time has figured out that the aliens are moving faster than us. So he slows down the recording, plays it back, says, "Oh shit, we got to deal with this." So they invent a way. Well, McCoy finds a way to reverse the drug that Kirk drank
from the coffee
to make him go fast. So Spock makes himself go fast so that he can give the stuff to Kirk. They defeat the head fast alien and blow up their cryo machine and then send the girl back to the planet, I guess.
Yeah. Basically, it just kind of ends.
And then
condemn them to death.
Then Kirk takes the antidote and returns to normal time, hilariously. And then everyone's like, well, where's Spock? And then the ship starts getting fixed really fucking fast. So Spock spends the next 8 years of his life fixing the Enterprise.
And like I said, giving McCoy a tramp stamp.
Yep. And then the Enterprise, and then then Spock makes a great pun, and the episode ends. And
Great pun.
You say great.
well, large.
A pun.
Yes, he makes a pun.
So before we begin, I think it's just. I mean, I'll have it in the text of the episode description as well, but just to reiterate, there is so much uncomfortable, super non-consensual shit that happens in Plato's Stepchildren. It's gonna be discussed a lot. That's all. Just extra content warning, because this episode, really uncomfy.
Cool. Do you want to just dive right into that?
Oh, if we must.
We must.
You opened the door.
And the can of worms.
You opened Pandora's box, and all these horrors have to come out of it.
So I will say, I'd been dreading this one, because I didn't remember it very well.
You don't like interracial love.
I just don't like love.
You don't like dwarfs? You don't like little people? My God, Chris, you're a monster. You're a monster.
I mean, not for the reasons you list, but yes. It was not, it wasn't great, but it was definitely not the disaster I thought it was going to be. I think
The kiss itself, or
No, sorry, just the whole episode.
Oh,
Yeah, no, sorry, I just meant the episode was. I thought the episode was going to be worse than it was. I give a lot of credit to the fellow that played Alexander.
Oh, he was great.
He was really wonderful.
Probably,
And his physical acting was really good.
yeah, he's clearly had some kind of training.
Oh, God, that line at the end. I have a little surprise for you. Hurts. You fuckhead. What the hell?
And they'd actually already filed the complaint with HR after he sent that message, because the last time he said that shit, it wasn't a little person.
Yeah, in spite of that, though, I did feel like this show did go out of its way to bring up, have a progressive message when Alexander, asks Kirk early in the episode, are there people like me where you live? And he's like, where I live, color, size, it doesn't matter. Everyone's the same.
And no one has these stupid mind powers.
Yeah.
Do they retain the mind powers after they leave? Do we learn this?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, presumably McCoy has invented a superpower serum
That we never hear from again.
Yeah, people were complaining.
Holy shit!
In
Into Darkness.
Into Darkness when they cured Kirk's death with con blood.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's a magic bullet. You can't have that. And
no telekinesis powers for anybody ever again.
Yeah, so what the fuck, nerds? You complain about Into Darkness, and don't get me wrong, I'm not defending Into Darkness. What I'm saying is there's no, the logic of criticizing Into Darkness on that particular point just fell apart because the original series did that.
Yeah, and I feel like there's probably been one or two other things as well that maybe we didn't think about at the time. Things that seemed like they were probably major breakthroughs but never really come up again.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean...
But yeah, I think that's part of the reason they were able to just kind of leave is essentially Kirk put the fear of God into fucking Parsnip, whatever the fuck his name was.
Isn't it Parman?
Parman, thank you.
Parmesan.
Yeah, we could fucking give everyone superpowers and all come down here and fuck your shit up.
Yeah, superpowers at a higher level than yours. What was really disappointing for me in this episode, and maybe it's because I'm a barbarian, but they did a really good job of casting just some of the smuggest looking motherfuckers to be the Platonians.
Good God, Philana, the wife, was so into watching people getting...
She was vicious and awful.
Getting not tortured, really, but getting puppeted around.
Yeah, she had a big lady boner.
She was her and her husband were the most clearly sadistic.
I don't know, the guy with the weird beard.
So that's what it
weird beard.
Black hair and beard guy were just kind of giggling the whole time. And for me, the biggest disappointment of the episode was that at no point did they just get the shit kicked out of them.
Oh,
I really wanted to see Kirk just fucking roundhouse kick one of them right in the teeth. But for real. I get that they're actors, and that's not really them. But to feel as good as I needed to feel about that, I really needed to see someone's teeth fly out of their head. Because goddamn, those two guys did a good job of just making me despise them. In a way I don't normally despise fictional people.
Yeah, I mean, the guy with the fucking, who went to the Lazarus School of Facial Grooming.
At least his was fuller.
Yeah.
And not long enough to drape in soup.
I mean, I couldn't pay attention to anything that guy said. It was just his goddamn beard just kept distracting me. And black hair guy, too. That hair was too black.
Well, it was also just too obviously a wig.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It was unbelievably black hair. Yeah.
But yeah, there was no real I get we were supposed to kind of be ha, look at this fucking I forgot his name again. Parson?
Parman.
Parman's all afraid. That's great. But, like, I mean, again, maybe I just wanted to see someone get fucking hit. Because they were awful people.
Yeah.
They were just monsters.
Speaking of how awful they were, apparently the BBC would not air this episode when it came out. They didn't get it aired until 1993.
Wow.
Because of the sadistic themes involved.
Yeah, no, it was super, like, really uncomfortable.
Well, again, especially the fact that, like, Mrs. Parman was, like,
Getting
clearly
off
getting
on it.
sexual pleasure from it.
God. She loved watching them kiss, and then she really loved watching them whip each other.
The initial sort of psychological torture sequence where, you know, it was just like I'm fucking with just Kirk and Spock to try to get Bones to just agree to stick around. Like, it made its point.
Yeah, and
then it kept going.
Why didn't
for
Bones
a
get a
while.
toga? I wanted Bones to get a toga.
A really short one
They
like
don't put
Kirk's.
Bones in enough costumes. Because I remember a couple weeks ago, last week, when he married the broad on the asteroid, he didn't get a flouncy pajama shirt. This show, he doesn't get a fucking toga.
Yeah. You know, I think, let me think. We got...
Here's the reason why they don't give him costumes. Because the last time they gave him a costume, it was a Nazi costume, and he couldn't figure out how to put it on properly.
No, he had a nice
that.
gun holster on in the OK Corral.
Yeah, no one got like extra costumes.
Yeah, no, I think
but that's because the aliens gave it to him and like put it on him. He didn't have to actually. He can't dress himself. That's what I'm saying.
Well, what man can?
Off the top of my head, we got, you know, Old West clothing Doc in Festival episode.
Oh, I don't remember already.
Yeah. They all had, like, they were trying to blend in, so they were all wearing, like, late 19th century American.
That was Return of the Archons. That was dumb.
Return of the Archons.
Nazis. He must have had one in
Nazis.
the 19 whatever's one with the woman, right?
No, he was in his uniform the whole time.
Were they both?
Doc, yeah. I mean, Kirk and Spock changed.
Right.
But Bones was in his uniform the whole time. And on the Mugatu planet there, he dressed like the natives with Kirk. I think those might be the only times we've seen him in something other than his uniform. Or, like, once or twice he's in,
Variants
like,
of his
Operation
He wears like
Scrubs.
scrubs and shit.
But yeah, I think those are the only time. Other than that, no toga this week. Oh, Space Rome, he does wind up in a slave's, t-shirt and sweatshirt.
Oh yeah, those were good. With the little chain insignia.
Yeah. But
Those were good
But
costumes.
the point is, he doesn't get to play dress up.
No, he does
No,
not.
he doesn't.
Wonder why.
Yeah.
I mean, he does get the space suit from last week too.
Yeah, that's still a uniform of sorts.
Had his name on it.
That's true. They all had little nameplates. But yeah, no, that scene was, overall, I think between sort of,
Which scene are you talking about?
The fight scene, right?
the whole episode is like, I don't know how I feel about it because it mostly just made me
Uncomfortable.
But then again, that was probably its goal.
Oh, absolutely.
So in that regard, it succeeded. But I don't know if that
Was
makes
that
it
its goal?
good.
I mean, what kind of sci-fi is this? Because it doesn't really feel very sci-fi-y. The only thing is that people have telekinetic powers and live on a weird fucking planet.
I think there's like a power corrupts sort of theme to it, right?
That's true.
The implication
That's
is
true.
that
And
they
Harmon
used to
admits
be,
that.
they used to be reasonable people, and then they receive this enormous power, and like the first thing they do is
take it out on Alexander.
make fun of the midget guy, So it's like, and make it, and make his life hell in the process.
So Alexander, right? They take him with them at the end as he requested. Mm-hmm. But the thing we know about what do they call themselves? The Platonians?
Yes.
The Platonians is that they are extraordinarily long-lived.
Yeah.
And that was normal for them. Like, that long lifespan seemed to be separate from...
How often do they have kids?
Not very, it would seem. There's only 38 of them, I think they said.
Were they? Really? I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or wait,
was
that in the next episode where there were only 38 of them?
Oh, it might be the next
Fuck.
one.
No,
There weren't a lot, though.
There weren't that many of them.
Yeah.
But was Mrs. Parman the only woman? Did we see any other women?
We saw one or two in the
I'm
background.
pretty sure we did.
In the
Okay.
background, I think.
But none of them had lines or anything.
No.
But yeah, so I mean, their extraordinary lifespan seemed to have nothing to do with the planet. That was just the telekinesis.
Yeah.
So how much longer is he gonna live? Like, is he in theory still bopping around by the time of, like, the Enterprise D?
Oh, that's weird.
Well,
Yeah,
he actually is Alexander from TNG.
He finally starts to get taller then.
A little bit.
I did love when Philana asked them, how old do you think I am?
That was great.
And Kirk you can tell Kirk wants to compliment her and stuff. And Spock just 35. I was supposed to have stopped aging at 30. That's not her voice. I'm sorry.
Touches her chin a little.
I'm not that old. I'm actually 2,000 or whatever the fuck she said.
Yeah, 1,000 something.
I did appreciate that.
You tell her, Spock.
That this wasn't parallel development again or something. Because that's what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, so what was it actually? So they were followers of Plato somehow.
So they were aliens to begin with.
Yes.
But then their planet, not their sun, their planet went nova.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was
they lived on a star.
Sandara.
Yeah. And they then moved to Earth, which at that point was,
in Plato's time?
Yeah, and they lived with the Greeks during the height of their civilization. And then when the Greek civilization collapsed, they left again, found this world, and when they realized they had magic mind plants, they were like, fuck it, we're going to stay here.
How did they get off Earth?
I mean, they got off their planet in the first place, so they must have had space travel.
So they kept their ship on Earth and no one noticed?
Their ship was the pyramids.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Maybe because they're Greek, so maybe their ship was the Colossus of Rhodes, and its feet were actually rockets, and it just shot up into space.
You think they ever hung
I bet it was the lighthouse.
Oh, in Alexandria.
In Alexandria. That could totally have been a spaceship.
So, I mean, you think they ever hung out with Apollo and his crowd?
Ancient aliens! That's the ancient aliens! Oh my god, the Mayans! Holy fuck! I've solved it! Call the History Channel!
Are you that guy from the memes right now?
I don't know. Is that how that guy talks?
I have no idea. I've never
There's always a
seen
picture
him.
of him going, aliens. But yeah, so do you think these people ever chilled out with Apollo and his crowd? Were they there at the same time?
I was actually just wondering that.
Yeah.
Just kind of sitting around.
Interesting theorem you have devised here.
Maybe they just crossed paths on their way to Earth.
Oh, thank God the nerd voice is back. We didn't
been a
hear
while.
from the nerd for a while,
Yeah, I kind of went in yeah. Plus, aren't we eventually... Isn't there an episode in sometime in the remaining few episodes left this season? Don't they eventually meet some other guy who, isn't immortal and had been multiple people on Earth, including, Socrates?
That's Requiem from
So, did they chill with him, too?
Probably.
How many people were in ancient Greece?
All the important ones.
I get the feeling Roddenberry had a little thing for this period.
I remember seeing a thing once. I forget whose statement. It's not mine. I saw this years ago. And some guy said, you know what it is? It's not that the Titanic sank because it hit an iceberg. It sank because all the extra weight from the damn time travelers on it. Because there's just so many stories where people wind up on it.
But why would the first time traveler go there if it hadn't sunk?
Well, see, you're assuming...
Yeah, grandfather paradox.
You're assuming the grandfather paradox applies. Maybe all time happens at once.
Okay.
Wibbly wobbly.
Tiny
I
wimey.
regret that fucking wibbly wobbly timey-wimey ever became a fucking thing.
Oh, I hate saying it.
Don't get me started.
I won't.
Just don't.
get me started.
Yeah. So these
started, darling.
these fucks, they have extreme longevity, but
Yep.
they have the most frail immune system,
Yep.
which does not go well with
No.
longevity.
No.
Because if you die from getting a cut that gets infected, how the fuck have these people live for so freaking long?
They never get cut.
They don't ever move. That's
That's
why they have
silly.
Alexander. That's why they push him around.
Yeah, but when
Make him risk stubbing his
They
toes.
use
But what do they
Alexander
have
as
to-
a spoon.
But what do they have to? But what do they do if they have to poop?
I don't want to know. When Parman is, in his death throes or whatever the fuck, and he's throwing things all over the place,
Yeah.
if one of those things hits somebody, that person gets a cut,
Yeah.
and that person continues the cycle. It's like, you guys are the most unsafe people. You should not have lived more than a year.
It's a domino effect, like in, what was it? I was playing Bioshock Infinite once. And you have this thing where you can just summon crows to kill people. But then you can upgrade it, right? So that the people who die then become like a proximity mine of more crows. But then those... So basically one day I shot a guy with crows and he died. And then more people kept running in. And just it became this wonderful chain reaction of crow murder. And I just stood there and watched. It was one of the best things ever in a video game. And it's kind of like that. It's just like death throes, chain reaction of psychotic breakdowns combined with telekinesis, Kyle.
Telekinesis, Kyle?
Sorry, reference to a Tenacious D song.
Oh.
So,
This is special.
was this episode good?
I don't know. I thought it had some redeeming qualities.
I mean,
It did, but was it good overall?
I'm gonna say
I'm
no.
going to say that there was, in terms of, I think that there's objectively parts of it that are not shit.
I think
Yeah,
most of
totally.
the acting was good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
again,
it
like,
was
big
well-
props to
well
Alexander.
performed.
And again,
Yeah,
those
Alexander
extras,
was
I
amazing.
wanted someone to kill all of them.
So they've done their job.
Yeah,
Even Shatner.
overall, yeah.
Even
you know,
okay when
he
they
was,
were
he was
when they were
overacting during some of the stuff, but like
well, most of the stuff that they were doing is when they were being forced to do stuff, and
Yeah.
I thought a lot of that looked really cool when they were being forced to do dances or being forced
Yeah.
to sing songs and stuff like that. The movements there were kind of neat. I think they could have choreographed them a little better because when they first do them and McCoy, Spock, and Kirk are staggering out of the room, they all kind of picked a different way to stagger.
Yeah,
which
that was
a little
weird.
strange, and they should have just picked one.
I think DeForest Kelly actually was doing the best with that.
I think they were all doing really good staggers. The problem was they didn't match.
No, that's true. I guess I preferred the one he was going for, because with him it really did sort of look like his legs were going and the rest of them really didn't want to. Whereas the rest of them, their whole bodies were lurching in weird ways. I kind of preferred, like, if he's
Nimoy
going...
was doing a lean forward thing.
Shatner was just
Shatting.
all over the place. So, that's what I'm really confused about this one, because I was expecting just out and out despise it. Instead, I'm just really confused and a little conflicted. I mean, again, like, the psychological torture scenes went on way too long. And
Oh
made
yeah,
me...
with Spock crying and
yeah.
laughing and then crying, and then
Yeah.
Doc was really irate about it. He's like, you can't do that to
Yeah.
him. He's my buddy and you're hurting him.
well, I think that they were trying to show, they had like, how do you hurt a human versus how do you hurt a Vulcan?
Yeah.
You hurt a human by taking away his agency, by preventing him from moving or, forcing him to do physical things that he doesn't want to do. But for a Vulcan, the torture is psychological and emotional.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think this whole episode
he was
is,
an emo kid after that.
there was a pretty
Hot Topic shopper.
pretty opaque commentary. I guess it wouldn't be opaque in this case. I guess it would be a transparent commentary on like slavery and that seems to be all there is to it.
And the thing that was interesting too, I guess, for the whole power corrupts thing is, at the end when there's sort of the fight and poor Alexander's just stuck in the middle again.
Oh, that was awkward.
And it's like Kirk could
poor guy.
have just sort of, because obviously Kirk was trying to stop him, but he didn't then try to free him.
Well, he had the knife, though. You had to stop him, but you also had to get the knife out of his hand, or Parman will continue using him
Right,
as a
but
knife.
I mean-
He couldn't just magic the knife out of his hand, though? Like,
That's what I mean. Like,
think.
I feel like there's ways I feel like it was a sort of a subtle nod that even Kirk was not really thinking. He was just like, must, power.
Well, and I was wondering, I was sort of waiting for there to be some comeuppance for that. Especially because I sort of felt like Alexander really, like, trusted Kirk a lot. Like, there were several moments where Kirk and Alexander had their little buddying up thing. And I was sort of waiting for Alexander to be like, you're just like them, or like some kind of moment where...
I mean, it happened right after Kirk saved his life, so I feel like that's still heavy.
Alexander's willing to give him a pass.
Well, I think part of it too is that at the end when Alexander says, don't stop me, he doesn't. He does stop him, but he does it by convincing him, not by using powers. He lets Alexander choose based on what he said to him rather than actually stopping him. So, like, he realized sort of what he was doing wrong in a way.
And poor Chapel gets
Oh,
the thing.
my
God,
the
that
one,
whole scene!
the one thing she's always wanted.
And yet she feels like she wants to crawl away and die.
Yep.
Ooh, that's a little over dramatic, Chapel, but all right, sure.
Well, she's had all her agency taken away, and there's that crowd. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just, no.
That is,
Chapel seems like a private love type of person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hard.
Though I will say that the lines that Uhura had when talking to Kirk made it sort of feel like they were trying to give us permission to think she was into it.
Yeah.
I felt like, which kind of grossed me out, because
Yeah.
like I hate the trope of like, oh, women love being raped or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt like, because, he's got her in his arms and he's like, don't be afraid. And she's like, I just think back to whenever I would be on the bridge and I'd hear your voice all around me and like coming from everywhere in the ship and I wouldn't be afraid. And it was just like, ugh, don't woobify this moment. It's squicky and I don't like it.
Yeah, it was
what
a really...
those words that you used just make me...
They were internet words,
Okay.
but...
You said woobsy and
Woobify. Woobify, which is like to make something that's not cute.
Yeah.
Like, you've seen Jessica Jones?
No.
Oh, God, watch Jessica
We talked about this, and we
Jones.
haven't done
like
it yet.
a
Well,
couple
do
weeks
it.
ago.
Do it now.
I don't watch shows that feature women.
I know, Jake. I know. I'm trying to.
Speaking of women, so the NBC was reluctant to include the Uhura Kirk kiss because they thought, you know, the interracial thing would freak out a lot of people and they would stop carrying the show and shit like that. So they wanted them to not actually touch lips. And apparently they did separate versions of the scene in which they kissed a bunch of times. So they had, you know, different shots of them doing the actual kiss. And Shatner and Nichelle Nichols have different stories of whether or not they actually did touch lips or not. Nichelle says they did, and I trust her.
I mean, at the end of the day, they did choose an angle that
It's hard to tell.
has her
but
hair
yeah.
mostly block
Yeah.
his face.
But they also did a whole bunch where they very much did not kiss at all, and they continuously ruined the takes whenever they would do those shots because Shatner really wanted the script to include the kiss itself. And in Nichelle's autobiography, apparently it says like when they were reviewing the footage and they watched the one with them not kissing, it would have been fine, but Shatner was crossing his eyes.
Yeah.
God, I hope someone saved that footage. I want to see it someday.
That'd be fantastic.
Now, maybe you came across this, but I remember hearing years ago it was originally written for Spock and Uhura. Am I making that up, or is that an urban legend?
Yeah,
or...
no, that was a possibility, but Shatner like told them to switch it back to him and Uhura.
Because no one, if Kirk has to do it.
He goes
Basically.
he needs to go where no man has gone before.
Well, and certainly, I mean, all any other reason aside, dramatically, you do. I mean, again, it's really.
Kirk and Chapel together is great and heart-wrenching.
You mean Chapel and Spock?
Spock, yeah, that's what I meant.
Like, that is a better dramatic payoff. Again, really super fucking, like, ugh. But it makes more sense narratively.
Spock and Chapel must have been kissing for like a long time.
Yeah.
And they cut back to them after a whole scene with
After
Uhura and Kirk.
Uhura was telling her lengthy story about hearing Kirk's voice and not being afraid.
Yeah.
Did one of you at some point while we were watching piped up and said that I think it was you, Chris, that the kiss between Chapel and Spock had bumped Doc out of first place for most awkward kiss in the series?
Yeah.
I don't think Doc's kiss was awkward. I think it was just light and youngish.
Yeah.
Like it's the kind of kiss that little kids do. That's innocent and sweet.
Yeah, no,
I thought it was awkward.
Doc McCoy is kissing kids again.
Well, certainly, I guess
God,
it
no.
does make sense for this one to be awkward because neither of the participants is fully into the idea.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a forced kiss.
Yeah.
That's not cool. No
No.
one wants that.
No.
Consent is important, people.
Yeah.
Tell that to the Plato men.
Kirk did with his mind powers.
You know, I don't know why these guys are so... So they love Plato so much.
But they are just dickheads.
They love Plato, but like, what were
But they can't get it to go through the little tube to make it shaped like a
Yeah,
star.
Or the spaghetti.
The spaghetti one. The spaghetti one's my
spoon.
favorite.
You ever make like spaghetti and meatballs?
You alright there, Chris?
Like, Plato is supposed to be fun, and enjoyable, and creative, and these guys are just jerks. They're just total downers.
The Republic was boring as shit. I know it wasn't actually written by Plato, but...
I just hope we get to meet the Lego Planet people. Followers of Lego.
Everything is awesome. You know, it wasn't awesome, though. The next episode.
Wink of an eye. See, I feel like the
that's a
idea
wink
in the
sound.
episode is very neat, but I
Yes.
feel like when you think about it for more than a minute,
It falls to
the
pieces.
physics makes no sense.
No.
Well, you think, the physics, whatever. I'll give a pass there. Because you could say, like, there's all kinds of problems. You can't do a story of time speeding up without those problems.
Yet they did, because this episode was based off a story by H.G. Wells called The New Accelerator, in which there is a Crawford Tillinghast-like scientist who makes a concoction that will like speed people way the fuck up so that you can get more done in your time. And he and the narrator take the drug, they speed way up, and wherever they go, the friction is making them really, really hot. So their pants are like nearly like wearing through because of all the friction, and they're nearly lighting on fire. They're feeling really hot wherever they go. When they sit on the grass becomes hot and singed, and they realize we have to like move around a lot less until this stuff wears off, or we're going to give ourselves heart attacks. And then the stuff wears off, and they go back to their days.
Hooray!
Yeah, but like, so yeah,
Cute
I mean
story.
that's well thought out. But I mean, I feel like if you start poking that kind of hole in the story, you go into, well, wait a minute, how do they even move? Because the air molecules wouldn't move out of the way fast enough. They would light the air on fire by just walking.
How do they see light if they're moving faster than the speed of light?
Right. I mean, it's
There's
not said that they're moving faster than the speed of light.
Yeah, but they shoot a phaser, and the phaser...
Oh, but phasers don't move at the speed of light.
Do they not? I thought they did.
They're not light. They're phased energy. I wish I was kidding. They're not technically laser guns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not even kidding,
Nice.
sadly.
All right.
So they're moving quite fast. I mean, there's
Still, light would be slower.
So yeah, there's all kinds of logistical
I mean, I
issues
think
here.
the physics stuff set aside, because that is getting sort of more advanced, it did seem kind of inconsistent as to how fast they were moving compared to the Enterprise crew. Like, that part seemed to vary kind of wildly.
Yeah, I mean, unless you unless you say that, okay, well, Kirk spent weeks or months from his perspective.
Yeah, it's hard to gauge like how long he was supposed to be going hyper fast.
Yeah. Like,
if everyone else is frozen to him.
But even the time it would take for Spock to walk from... Because Spock starts on the bridge.
Yeah.
And the next time we see him, he is in...
Science lab?
Yeah, in the science lab. And so for the time for Spock to move from the bridge to the science lab...
It would take days.
Would take a very long time from Kirk's perspective.
And meanwhile, though, Scotty is, like, walking into the transporter room.
For the
like
whole
half
episode.
the episode.
Yeah, so it's like,
I did
it's just,
love that consistency. I kind of give credit to Dylan.
I wish they
because I have
kept
a feeling he
moving
was the
him
best.
like
A little
subtly
bit,
slower, like a couple of feet, but maybe they really wanted to make it look like time had ground to a complete
like,
halt.
yeah, like, I wasn't, again, so much, I didn't even think of, honestly, a lot of the physics stuff. I was just bothered by the fact that there didn't seem to be a set rule.
Oh, there was one great thing in the new accelerator, which I don't think was present in this episode really much at all. In that, you know, they were holding like the glasses of the potion that they took, and the main character lets go of it, and it doesn't fall because it's falling too slowly for them to register. So it just hovers in the air in front of him, and he can pick it up again. We're like, let's have another sip of this.
I mean, yeah, so like where does the time acceleration field begin and end?
Right, and it has to be a field.
Yeah.
Because their clothes don't just rip off them.
Yeah.
The stuff Spock put on his belt stays with him.
Right.
So
He
they're
can pick up things and bring them with him.
Yeah.
The other guys can like...
It's just like connected to the touching your body, because if you're standing on the deck, then the whole ship's touching your body.
Yeah.
By some extension. So it does have to
Oh,
be
that's
some
true.
sort of fixed field.
yeah.
What if you kick something?
I don't know. Like,
Will
what
it
if you
just
touch?
hover
What
in
if
the
you
air?
touch another person?
Well, right. Can
What if
you
you
like?
walk up to Doc and whisper in his ear?
I mean, I would do that anyway.
Will his ear suddenly slow down? Will he get like, ah!
Yeah, that's a good question.
And then
See, you really shouldn't think about this
Exactly, you
episode
can't-
too much.
it falls to pieces.
It's one of those things where as soon as you really start to think about it, it doesn't work. You have to take it for nothing more than what is presented in the episode.
Well, what is presented in the episode, and again, I'm sorry,
Is that woman's side a lot?
jumping ahead here, is the resolution is to let them die.
I feel like did they say that they were gonna figure something else out, or are they just gonna trap another passing ship, or what?
Well, no,
He
he
beamed her down again.
Well, yeah, they were like, she was like, yeah, but you're gonna like warn the Federation, and you'll quarantine this planet, and Kirk's like, yep,
Whoa.
like that's it. He said they've got to try to figure it out for themselves. He's done, hands washed. She's like, whoa. But you figured out a way to fix yourselves, like, at least tell them that. Maybe they can use that as a starting point.
Yeah, they're different, I think, though.
Well, right, it's more sort of ingrained with them somehow.
Yeah, I think
But then
it's part of
again,
their physiology.
they're all part other alien, too. Because their fathers have been aliens they've been kidnapping for generations now, because all their men are sterile.
Yeah. But I
So
think
how's that work?
It's a dominant trait.
Yeah, probably.
Um,
Also, and I know I brought this up off air, and it's kind of unnecessary. I'm going to say it anyway, because it genuinely bothers me. There's this whole thing, and Compton dies, but they're like, any sort of cellular damage to an artificial accelerant will kill them basically instantly, because they hyper-age for reasons. Putting aside just minor injuries, but like literally, they've been kidnapping these people as breeding stock. When you have sex, there are micro fissures that form in the skin.
Especially with the butt sex.
If they're trying to repopulate themselves, they're not going to do that.
Well, they're doing it. They're having fun too, man. They're doing the whole nine.
But like that's real. Like that's something you learn in sex ed and you forget because it's horrific. But there are micro tears that form in the skin of the genitals during sex.
And unfortunately, the context you learn that under is don't have unprotected sex. You'll get AIDS because of micro fissures. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, actually, I think that is how I learned it.
Like, because they talk about how, like, you can't get it from holding hands and you can't get it from kissing, but you can totally get it from micro fissures.
So, I mean, but that's cellular damage. So really, this shouldn't be the first time they fuck an alien. The alien should die. They better hope they go quickly.
Kirk totally banged her, too,
And he
right?
did bang her.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was a post-coital scene.
With him putting his
boot
back on,
and she was fixing her hair.
Well, at least he took off his boots.
Yeah.
Yeah, they snuck that by the censor.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. You think when he took off the boots, right, and presumably the rest of his uniform, did it reappear in real time?
I wondered if dead Compton reappeared in real time.
That was never made clear, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is,
I mean, if they stand still long enough, I mean, granted, it would be for
that's
days.
the thing. His boots would have had to been there for... Because, Kirk's lasting, 2-3 minutes? Those boots weren't there long enough to appear in real time.
Jesus Christ. That woman was a fucking match for him, kissing-wise, too.
Yeah, no, she was just as
full-on
aggressive as he is.
I would say
Face
more.
on
I would
face.
say more aggressive, honestly. She was, like, really not fucking around.
She didn't even say hello. She just went for the mouth.
Yeah.
I hated all the costumes.
I didn't hate all the costumes.
The men's costumes.
I didn't mind her costume.
Yeah.
No, see,
Like I said, I think I would have preferred if she had the sleeve on one side and the pant on the other, because I didn't like it being...
Yeah, I didn't like the...
So side-heavy?
I didn't
Yeah.
like the symmetry thing, and again, I was slightly weirded out by the, let's put a flower near her vagina. It's that's a bit on the nose.
Well, her whole thing was flowery.
No, I know, but
flowers.
they specifically had a few, on her belt that just went right down.
No,
Are
her
they
whole,
gonna
her
stop
whole
the
belt
flowers
was flowers.
It was, but there was a little tendril that specifically, went down along the,
Well, that's her bikini area.
bikini line, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta cover that. You can't just be a belt. It's gotta
Yeah,
be a
they
bathing
just
suit.
made it a vagina.
Okay.
Have you guys seen that picture that's been going around Facebook of a throw pillow that has penises all over it, but it's designed to look like almost like a, what's the,
Magic
like
eye?
a blue China, China blue, the blue on white,
Oh, like a plate.
ceramics.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of designed to look like that,
Oh,
and they look like
no.
flowers, but it's actually penises.
Penis.
That's hilarious.
Penis.
I wanted to go back to your micro fissures for a second.
Okay.
Because, cellular damage, any exposure to light...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, cells die constantly.
That's the thing. Cells do die constantly.
Yeah.
If there was no cellular damage, you would have cancer. That's what cancer is: cells not dying. Right. So cellular damage, anything you do on the ship is going to result in some type of cellular damage.
That's true.
So I think that particular explanation is kind of silly. They should just be like, "Oh no, he broke the skin," or I don't know.
Yeah.
Something.
It doesn't solve everything, but it solves...
It's just another example
Some
of
things.
this episode. In addition to sort of the stuff that Ames was talking about, it's just the premise really starts to fall apart when you think about it for anything more than a couple of seconds.
It reminded me of the episode of Futurama where Fry drinks 100 cups of coffee and then gets to run around like a fucking hummingbird. And
That's basically what
save
Spock does at
everyone
the
from a
end.
fire. That's true, he does.
I wonder that. I kind of wonder if that was a nod, because there's just so many Star Trek things in Futurama, even outside of the Star Trek episode. So this episode was not good. I was conflicted and confused, and still am, about Plato's Stepchildren. This one, it was just
Plato's Stepchildren was a mediocre episode that had a lot of really awesome acting and some good messages and a lot of uncomfortable things that, I mean, I don't like to be... Well, no, actually, that's a lie. I love television that makes me uncomfortable. Not this type of uncomfortable. This was just uncomfortable. But I just thought it was an interesting look at, absolute power corrupting absolutely or whatever.
Yeah.
But then this, what the fuck?
Wink of an eye,
give me a fucking break. Was just, and again, that fucking costuming, my god.
Yeah, it was really distracting.
The men really looked like they were wearing their mother's house
and
coats
they were like
around.
this shade of lavender that just, it doesn't go with anything.
And it was just like the tops were cut like women's dresses. Absolutely.
Old women's
women's dresses. And I know that in the future,
Very gender binary.
I know.
The thing is, it's one thing to be, to be like, oh, it's weird because it looks like a lady clothes, but it's also a cloth that just looks ugly on anyone.
Yeah, no. It's
Yeah, it was very
good lady
boxily
clothes.
cut. No one
Yeah.
would have looked good in it.
Yeah, it was just offensive.
You gonna try it on, Jake?
I might.
You would look nice in it. Jake.
We should cosplay as those people.
No, I'd rather boil my
Does
fucking
that
head.
mean I get to wear that floral get up with some flowers on my
Sure.
vajayjay?
As long as you only wear half of it.
Yeah?
Apparently.
All of my side fat hanging out would be really sexy.
But yeah, like this episode, the other thing is like you work out very quickly what's going on. It's like, especially just because of the title, you're just like, oh, okay, people are moving to, yep, okay.
Something's gonna happen fast. Yep.
And then it's just like, okay, can we fucking get to the resolution here? Why is this still happening?
It's still happening because Kirk's
moving,
going so
yes.
fast that everyone else is going so slow. I do wonder how much time was supposed to have elapsed in
They
Kirk's
didn't
time.
think about it. They didn't think about it when they made the episode.
No.
We shouldn't think about it now.
No.
I will note a couple of things.
Yes,
There is a halfway decent Voyager episode that called Blink of an Eye.
that one's good.
Which is...
We mentioned it before on the podcast.
Did we?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's similar premise where but in this case, they kind of work out some of the kinks. There's still problems with it, but they work out some of the
I remember you
kinks.
telling us about this one.
Yeah, there's a
It's that
planet.
they're in a different time.
Yeah,
bubble kind
it's
of thing.
it's a whole planet that isn't like stuck in ultra fast time.
So they see Voyager in the sky for like millennia, right?
Yeah. And it does get a little silly, that episode, but it's I think when we get to it, we'll enjoy it.
It makes the clever premise actually sound clever.
Yeah, exactly.
And this was just a lot of like, this was a week of smug dickheads, kidnapping the crew. And
Yeah.
it's one set of smug dickheads was more compelling than the other.
They both ended on stupid puns.
True.
Yep. We got a
And
little
no-
surprise.
It's like kind
what
of...
was Spock's?
Spock's was,
It was-
I found it an accelerating experience.
Fuck you, Spock.
Ugh.
But it was like, there's really no proper comeuppance for the Platonians. And meanwhile, these jackasses are just gonna die off one by one.
Oof.
I don't know. I sort of think there is a comeuppance for the Platonians because they're going to have to fetch their own shit from now on, which means they're all going to stub a toe and die sooner than later. No, seriously, because they
Why
take
don't they fucking learn medical experience
Because they're
stuff?
fucking lazy and they have fucking
They're like
slaves.
the Telosians.
Think
a
about how
lot.
many cuts you would get trying to learn medicine. You'd be
Ooh, that's
trying to learn
true.
how to stitch somebody, and that person's
Shit.
condemned to death.
Where are you
And if
gonna
you
get
accidentally stab
cadavers
yourself,
to practice on?
All the people that have died in the meantime.
Yeah.
Oh, a couple other points about these episodes. So as you said, they both ended in a stupid pun. So that was a points against.
Yep.
They both stated the title of the episode in the episode.
Yeah.
And
That's at 4 in a row now where they've done that.
and that's
It's
a
true.
cardinal sin. Like you ever like when boy bands say the name of their boy band in their song. You know?
is that a thing?
Yeah. It happens a lot, and I hate it. And I hate it just as much with episodes of television shows,
Okay.
if not more.
Well, the other cardinal sin of this episode, no Walter in either of them.
In either.
Yeah, what was he
Shit.
doing? What was he, busy?
Oh, he wasn't.
We did get some Sulu in the other, but precious little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there wasn't much Sulu.
They also, I noticed a couple of times in Wink that they clearly spliced in footage from
they
other
did.
episodes. Like right
The
at
Scotty
the,
one was
there was
weird.
right at the start. There's a shot of Scotty that was from a totally different episode. He had different hair. Uhura wasn't in the background when she was in the next shot. Then I also found it weird. There was a couple shots of when Spock was playing the tapes on the bridge. Where they were quality of the footage was different when it showed the close-up of Spock, and then when it showed him operating the controls on the panel, it was only from like elbow down. So you couldn't. So they probably just got somebody else to like
Stuck him in a blue shirt.
No, this is clearly the budget concerns showing, I would guess, because it's easier to just pay, Kirk, Doc, and Spock and like not have Chekhov come on. If you have a principal extra sitting in his seat for the week, it's probably cheaper.
Oh yeah,
than
that's
paying
probably
Chekhov.
$20 a day versus $25 a day for Walter Koenig.
I was gonna say, I was actually thinking it probably wasn't a huge savings.
Now, wait a minute. Walter Koenig got $25 a day and a Snickers bar. Let's not sell him
That's
short.
true, and this is 60 Snickers bar. Where the 60 Snickers
They were
bar,
bigger.
the king size that we have today is like their regular size.
Yeah. It was an interesting week. We had an episode I was expecting to loathe, and I am now just confused by, and an episode I'd never heard of that I will never watch again.
You know what? You know what it is that Plato's Stepchildren had going for it? No matter whether you thought it was good or bad, it made you feel something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it was just uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable.
And I feel like wink of an eye just made me,
Bored.
and wish it was over.
Stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know. The fact that they were being stolen to be breeding stock, that's kind of interesting.
You're right. That got my heart rate up for a second.
I feel like that's
but
not
that
the
was
first
it.
time that's happened, though.
Yeah, they're always getting bread and shit.
So Kirk presumably banged Queen Dila.
Yeah.
Think he knocked her up?
God, I hope
Think he
not.
saved
I
their
was
race?
wondering that too.
Because that
actually.
child will one day be all alone.
When
After
the
all
rest
the
of them
adults have died.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And going super fast and can't do anything about it.
Yeah. That's
Poor
a really
kid.
fucking depressing thought.
But maybe he will land on the planet Earth, where
And he'll spread his
the
seed.
yellow sun of Earth will give him powers to. He will be faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, and can leap tall buildings in a single bound.
He's already faster than a speeding bullet.
Well, he's already got a leg up. And that child's name
Was
Jor-El.
David.
His name's Jor-El.
Well, this has been episode 34
Superman people.
of A Star to Steer Her By. Thank you very much for joining us and sticking with us through all that uncomfortableness and then a bad episode.
A bad episode of the show, not our show.
No, this is fine by our standards.
Our
I
show's
think.
great.
Yeah, our show was good.
Please find and like our Facebook page, A Star to Steer Her By. We are on Twitter and Tumblr as SSHB Podcast. Please subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting application. If you do use iTunes, give us a rating and a review. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your pets, tell whoever. Don't tell Walter Koenig, because he might
poor
not realize we kind of jab in fun.
I feel
and
like
don't
he
want
has
him
to have a
ever-
sense of humor about
I
it.
hope so, but I feel like we really harp on it. So don't tell
You
Walter.
know what? Walter, if you are listening, you can come on our podcast. We'll invite you on here. We'll even give you a sandwich.
I would love Walter to be on our
So,
podcast.
we'll
I
feed
love
you.
him so much.
I know, and it'll be better than the stuff they're giving you down at the shelter. So
Oh,
God!
oh.
Oh, poor Walter.
Take us out, Chris.
Next week, we will be watching The Empath, and I'm probably butchering this, Alon of Troyes? Troy?
We'll hear it next time.
We will.
When someone inevitably says the title in an episode.
Yeah, really. For A Star to Steer Her By, this has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
This has been Caitlin.
and this is always Jake.
Thank you very much for listening.
Be sure to tip your yeoman.
Bye.
Reference to a Tenacious D song.
Oh, Murder Crows.
Yeah.
I never met a crow I liked.
What about Crow T Robot?
Nope.
Oh.
Oh.
You're Servo Man?
Crows can die.
Are you just
I
quoting
love
Game of
Crow.
Thrones? What the fuck is going on?
Crow from Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Yeah, he's my
He's my
favorite.
favorite. Even though he's got a speculum for a
You're
mouth.
fine. I'll give him.
Too. He's got a hockey mask for a fin though.
He's cool. He's fine because he's not a real crow. But crows, the birds, crows.
Oh, the birds crows.
That's what I'm talking about.
I thought you were just quoting Game of Thrones.
Oh no.
You don't like crows? What's wrong with crows? They're
Crows
cool.
are really nice.
Like when you go climb a mountain and they just like are hovering on in the updrafts. They love that shit. They're so cool.
They're super pretty.
Once saw a crow. I thought it was a crow. It turned out to be a dog. It turned out to be a Labrador.
So
What
you're
is
saying,
happening right now?
so actually you don't like
And
Labradors?
then that Labrador ran at me in a threatening manner.
Turned into a
Barked.
crow.
Turn into a crow.
And then, so ever since then, I haven't liked crows.
It makes perfect sense when you put it that way.